This is Stay Paid, the marketing podcast that gives listeners a competitive edge to stay motivated, find inspiration, and discover proven real-world tactics from some of the best marketers across the nation.
Welcome to another Silver Dollar episode of Stay Paid. My name is Joshua Stike.
And I'm Luke Acree.
And author Ellie Radinger. Hope I pronounced your name, Ellie.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you're still alive, Ellie.
Oh, gosh. That's depressing.
It goes to the theme today. She wrote, "Old age and death can teach us a great deal, and that being prepared for death also means being prepared for life." This is an article on Medium from Matthew Royse titled 7 Critical Life Lessons That We Can Learn from the Dying. This is an article that you sent to me, Luke, and said, hey, this would be a cool kind of Silver Dollar episode to talk about. So,
well, we were just talking about, I just had my second kid, a little boy named William.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's awesome. It's amazing, but nothing makes you think
it's a beautiful little boy.
Thank you.
He really was.
Yeah,
he still is.
Still is. Although when they come out, you know this because you've had kids. Dude, they look like old men. My daughter looked like an old woman, but it's like Benjamin Button. It's like, oh gosh, what's happened to this kid? Cone-shaped head and everything. But anyways, nothing makes you think about death
more
quite
than
like
new life.
Yeah, having a kid in the sense of like, oh man, am I prepared as the kid? Am I prepared if I die? What happens to the kid? Adding the kid to your benefits, all that stuff. You start worrying about their future, and everything in life points to, hey, that's what life's about and all that stuff. And we were talking about it before we came on the show, but this article stood out to me. It's always good to stop because all of us have stress and anxiety right now. Mm-hmm. Like you have stress and anxiety. I don't know what yours is, but it's popping into your mind right now as you're listening to this. And a lot of times our stress and anxiety is because we're in an echo chamber of something we've created, a box that we've created that we think is important that is not nearly as important as you think.
Yeah.
And a good way to step out of that box is to take a second and reflect on what really matters. And a great way to get that perspective is to go and listen to what the people who are on their deathbeds have said that they regret, right? There's a book.
Did you ever read that book?
I never read it. Ariel, our producer,
That's
read
right.
it.
Yeah.
I read the summary of it when we did that episode on it, but I never read the full book.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to stop and go, oh man, this takes me out of the echo chamber I'm in.
Yeah.
And shifts my focus back to what really matters.
Very like self-centered, selfish sort of like way of thinking of and worrying, like you said, it really puts things into perspective,
Yeah, well, Gary Vee, there's this famous video of Gary Vee on YouTube. It's like a YouTube short, too. This lady comes up to him in an SUV, knocking on the window. Gary, tell me some words that are 3 words that will inspire me. And Gary goes, "You will die." And it's like, that is great because every single one of us will die. Nobody's getting out of here alive, right, as they say. And it's great to use that as your motivator, not only to get up and go live life and live it to its fullest, but also to not let things drag you down.
Yeah.
Right? It's about the journey and the process, right? It's not about the destination. So let's talk about this article real quick.
Absolutely, it is a balance. So the first tip that they say here is one of the most common regrets that dying people have is that they didn't spend enough time with their loved ones.
So I want to challenge you that you need to be a 3-dimensional person. The world will constantly tell you you can't. Your job will make you feel like you can't. What do I mean by a 3-dimensional person? Here's what I mean. You can have a full life with your loved ones and family, a full life with your career, a full life with your faith. You don't have to just be great in your faith, but bad in your business and bad in your personal life. You don't have to just be great with your personal life and bad in your business because you can't balance them. You can have a 3-dimensional life, and don't let anybody tell you can't, but it takes intentionality. And I think it was, who's the guy that does the MTV show? Is it not Punk'd? Is it Punk'd? No, it's Rob
Deerdorf?
Deirdrick, right?
Deirdrick.
Look that up.
Rob Deirdrick.
There we go.
Deerdorf.
Ethan, our producer, coming in for the record. But this guy, right, super successful, had no idea how much success he has, but he literally structures his life so intentionally, and he makes sure he's at least spending 30% of his time with his family. And he literally has a manifesto of how to run his life. And he has 4 personal assistants because he's so successful now that help keep him to that document, to that standards of operations.
How does he do that? So how long are you awake? 16 hours a day? What's a third? Right?
I don't know how long you're awake, honestly. Some people more than others.
What's a third of 16? What's 8 times 3?
We're actually okay.
That was the dad joke of the episode.
Wait, what?
It's like you're like, what's a third of 16? 8.
Yeah, what is a third of 16? Am I
8 is a half of
5.3.
Yeah.
5.3. So he spends. So you're saying he spends what, five and a half hours working, 5.5 hours
in
with
this
family?
video I was watching, he spends, I think it's 30% of his time dedicated to his family.
What's 16 divided by 3? 8.
I know. I was like, what is this, a dad joke? That's like half.
Sorry, go ahead.
But anyways, but the point I'm trying to make with this, right, is you can be a three-dimensional person and stop getting around people who tell you can't. And it takes discipline. Jocko, the guy who wrote the book Extreme Ownership, we had him come in and speak to our company. And one of the things he talked about was discipline equals freedom. And he says you can see it in the people who need more time. And he goes, you know what? You constantly find yourself at the end of the day needing more time because maybe you didn't spend enough time with your family. Well, guess what? You actually need more discipline. Because if you were more disciplined, you would block out your calendar. You wouldn't have any wasted space. And in that blocking out your calendar, you know what would happen? You would get more time because you would realize how much time you were wasting. That's no longer wasted. That can be more intentional.
Yeah. Number 2 is kind of similar along what we're talking about. But the second one is people who are dying feel like they spend too much time on work rather than spending time with families and friends. So
what do you think about this one?
So when I look at this, because you hear this all the time, it's like, I don't know if this is a popular take or unpopular take, but I don't know how much I believe in it because I don't think you can spend too much time on work, or I think people use that as an excuse to not work as hard. And
read the third one because I think they play together really well.
I do. Follow your heart and pursue your passions.
Yeah.
So I look at that and I go, no, I agree. You should not neglect the people in your lives or your other responsibilities if you choose to have a family and things like that for work. Yep. But I don't think that means, I don't know that I've ever looked back and said I spent too much time on work. Because we used to work like 90-hour weeks.
Because you
like
have number 3. Because you have number 3.
Well, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's work if it causes you stress, but if it's a passion of yours, it might be hard, right? But it's not really the same as I think these people define work. It would be my take.
And now what I'm seeing now today in my life, because I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and they're getting involved in more things. And I'm leaving work today after our next podcast.
Yeah, Josh canceled our one-on-one meeting.
I did, because my daughter's competing.
I was proud of him.
Competing in her track meet today. Yep. I may not have done that 10 years ago. Yeah. I don't know if I would have done that 10 years ago. But today, yes, that part is important. And I think that that's the balance that you're...
Yeah, well, and I would also say this. So one is the passion. I think when people state that, here's where it comes from me, because I can only speak for myself. If I regret spending too much time at work, it's really what I'm regretting is spending too much time focused on things that aren't passionate to me, that don't enthuse me, that at the end of the day, it was just about a paycheck and it really wasn't about a higher purpose or something that actually got me going. And then the second thing that I think of when it comes down to work, right, and I spend too much time at work and plays into this is I wasn't my authentic self. I think so often one of the things that we struggle with in work is we put on our work persona. And you're different in work than you are at home, than you are at church, or whatever your boxes are that you go to. You have your persona for those things. Instead of realizing true freedom and true happiness allows you to have the freedom to be your authentic self at work, at your church, in your home. You are who you say you are. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing for me.
I don't know if that comes with like age or if it comes with position or
age because you don't care anymore.
Right. Like yes, there was once upon a time where my work self was one thing and my home self was another. I think it's all the same. I think it's all the same now. But.
You meet old people. Have you ever met really old people? And it's just like, oh my gosh, this person literally does not care how they're coming across right now.
To kind of,
they realize it doesn't matter.
To kind of reframe some of this as well, I think a lot of people use work as an escape.
Yeah.
From maybe what they don't want to be spending, if that's home time or whatever that might be. But like I have restructured how I sometimes spend my working moments as well. Whereas before I might have worked from 7 or 8 a.m. until 10, 11, 12 at night.
Yeah.
Now I will work. I will spend time with my kids because I have them half the time, right? So I have every other week. I have time blocked off to spend with them. When they go to bed, I'm back doing work. And I'm picking up some of that stuff that I lost because I did stop working at 6 o'clock versus, going later.
And if I just put a nail on this at the end, I would say that you are created, I believe, as a human to constantly be improving. And it's not an improving about comparison. You're not comparing yourself to somebody else, but I literally think we were created to improve, to learn new things, to get better. And work is an aspect of that. It creates that in you, the ability to create, the ability to evolve, the ability to get better at something. Now, all these things happen through your work. And so what I always want to point people to is like, just make sure that you are improving every day and you like who you're becoming.
Great point.
And you won't end up at the end of your life going, oh, I spent too much time at work.
It's not about the hours, right? It's about the actual activity.
Exactly.
And improvement. Number 4 is be more thankful. So people who are dying regret that they didn't say I love you or thank you enough. It makes a difference when you are dying and living a grateful life.
Yeah.
I've been doing this more this year. This was like kind of a challenge that I did, was like gratitude every single morning, like writing down 5 things. And it's changed my perspective for sure. 100%. It makes you take less things for granted. It makes you appreciate things more. It makes you even better around your loved ones.
Yeah. I realize this because I'm so bad at it. But I try to, I used to write cards to people when they were here in the office. Now I, chat people at their anniversary here at work or stuff like that. Or if they had a great sales day or they did a great job on a project, I try to chat them. And the responses I get, I go, man, Luke, why don't you show thankfulness more? Because not only does it make you happier, make you feel good, you're making that person happier. It's such an easy thing that we don't have intentionality towards. So I really appreciate that one.
Number 5 is to forgive others. Forgiveness is about releasing feelings of resentment or vengeance towards another person who harmed you. So forgiveness matters, especially when you're dying. It can lead to feelings of understanding, empathy, and compassion. It would suck to take grudges to your deathbed, man.
Yeah. I heard this quote the other day that really impacted me, which is, forgiveness is about letting the prisoner free and finding out that prisoner was you. And what that means is you don't realize.
You're not hurting the other person.
Yeah, when you hold on to resentment and a grudge, it turns into bitterness. And bitterness, literally from the inside out, man, tears you down. And when people tell you to forgive, you're like, there's no way I can forgive this person. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiveness is letting go of the prisoner, meaning you're putting yourself in that prison. When you let go of that, you let go of that pain, you can actually move forward and move on. So I just challenge everybody, stop taking the poison.
I saw this quote by Maria Edgeworth. She says, surely it is much more generous to forgive and remember than to forgive and forget. Oh, that was pretty powerful.
That is.
All right, what number are we on?
We are number 6.
I lost my tab. Number 6.
It is embrace vulnerability.
Thank you.
Yes.
Embrace vulnerability. Dude, this one I have always struggled with.
Yeah.
Like this idea of being vulnerable.
Is that because you are a adventurist or like are you an Enneagram 1 or what are you?
Enneagram 1.
Yeah, and they have perfection in them?
Yes, it's the perfectionist or the reformer. And what ends up happening with that personality type is they tend to judge themselves more than they judge others. Or they kind of automatically think that other people are judging them, as harshly as they judge themselves. So they also have this idea of a fear of being either wrong or immoral. So it's like any little thing where it's like,
that's interesting.
See,
yours is better in that your actual reasoning why. Mine's more evil in the sense of like, I'm a sales type person. So it's like,
you're an influencer.
You're not vulnerable because you're always trying to influence. And that's like it's not bad, but you know what I mean? It has more of a, like you're not being vulnerable because you are hoping that if they don't see this part of you, you can get them to do X, Y, Z. And it's like, that's so terrible. Instead, you realize you can actually influence people more by being vulnerable. Yeah. Vulnerability creates vulnerability and trust.
It creates relatability. It creates an actual, you just said trust in the other person. Yeah. That's funny. I see you as a more vulnerable person than I am, but maybe that's because you're just that much more outgoing. And like you said, you're kind of, you're also influencing while you're doing it.
I've worked very hard over the last few years, I would say. And I think you could probably see this if you go back, watch early episodes of the podcast of us. Now, a lot of that also is just ability, like we've gotten better at the podcast. But I think you can see even in my leadership skills here, it's like I'm way more direct, way more vulnerable with people in an authentic vulnerability.
Yeah. All right. Number 7 and the last one is well, I won't say the most important for sure, but it's find your purpose. When you're dying, you want to know that your life mattered. Finding purpose in your life helps you wake up each day and give it your best. Purpose is crucial because it helps guide your life and commit to your dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that we talked about up until this point
leads to that.
You have to be purposeful in.
Yeah.
You have to be purposeful in spending more time with family, maybe not spending too much time at work if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, forgiving others, being vulnerable.
Probably the most important question that you can ask yourself is, what is your purpose? And the exercise that has been given to me before to help you come up with this is, write your eulogy. Write what you want it to say on your tombstone.
Or what do you want people to say about you at your funeral? Yeah.
Right. And so it's like,
if you want people to say he was a nice person, he was full of life, he was XYZ, you have to be a nice person.
Yeah.
You have to do the work, the outgoing generosity. If you want people to say that, and it's not just about, he was very polite, right? You actually have to do the things and take action that will make people see that in you.
And it's one of the most important things you can do, and people avoid it because they don't want that constant reminder that they're not living up to who they want to be. So they avoid putting down. We do this all over in our lives. We avoid solidifying things because we want an excuse for when it's not happening.
That's why people make goals like, I want to lose weight, instead of I will lose 10 pounds in 30 days.
Exactly.
Right. And here's how I will do it each and every day.
Bingo.
All right. Thank you so much for listening. I would like people to say at my funeral that he was a great dad joke teller. So that's why I tell dad jokes every single silver dollar. This episode launches on May the 4th. Right?
May the 4th, yep.
So if you're a Star Wars fan, you know this is Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you, everybody. Here's a couple Star Wars jokes. What do you call 2 Han Solos singing together?
A Han duet.
Yes, a Han duet.
Han
we
duet.
can look at these.
Look at that, Han duet.
Here's our second one. Why couldn't Luke find love? Why couldn't Luke Skywalker find love? He was looking in Alderaan places.
Oh, there we go.
That was good.
Nice.
I actually
well done.
know Star Wars enough to get
got that one?
Yeah.
Oh, you know Alderaan. Wow.
Planet.
Very
Fantastic.
Oh.
All right. You can head on over to staypaidpodcast.com for the show notes and the video of this episode. And if you like this show and want to show your support, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to help out the show is to share this episode with a friend. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com, or you can find us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Your action item from this, I hope this challenged you to just take a step back and think about these things that pull you out of maybe some of the negativity, anxiety, the stress that you have, get you refocused. But your action item from this is choose a couple people today, 2 to 3 people that you can express some gratitude towards. Think about what you're thankful for about them and text that to them. It will change their day. It will also change yours. Remember, the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.